My best friend became obsessed with extreme beauty treatments, and when she crossed the line, she went to prison. Now she's out, her face ruined by dangerous experiments, stalking me, determined to finish what she started. Ashley and I were your typical ugly besties. I'd made peace with it early on, but Ashley was always comparing herself to other girls and feeling like she came up short. I spent years telling her, we're beautiful in our own way, but I could tell she never believed me. Everything changed when Ashley discovered Korean influencers. She found this YouTube channel that broke down 15-step routines, and suddenly she was obsessed. Within a month, her skin was clearer, and she learned these subtle makeup techniques that made her eyes look bigger. She wasn't TikTok pretty, but she'd become what people called Pinterest pretty. For the first time ever, guys were liking her Instagram posts. She'd walk into my room with bags from Sephora showing me her haul, and I'd sit there grinning. I'm so happy you finally see what I always saw, I told her one day. She just hugged me and said I was the best friend ever. Her parents were thrilled too. Everyone kept commenting on her transformation and newfound confidence. After about 6 months, Ashley started getting into more extreme treatments. She discovered vampire facials where they inject your own blood back into your face. Then she found out about placenta treatments. She'd send me articles at 3 a.m. about how celebrities use stem cells to look younger. I thought it was just her new hobby until things got weird. I went to her apartment one day and found her in the bathroom with a syringe drawing her own blood. What are you doing? I asked. She looked excited and explained she was making DIY serums. Store-bought stuff is diluted. This is organic. She had this whole setup with test tubes and everything. I told her it seemed dangerous, but she waved me off saying she'd done tons of research. The next few months were a blur of Ashley's experiments getting more extreme. She started paying this sketchy esthetician for blood facials. Her face was constantly swollen and infected, but she called it cellular renewal. One day I was looking for ice cream in her freezer and found rows of labeled blood vials. When I confronted her, she explained super calmly that she was reverse aging at the cellular level. She even showed me her journal where she tracked her treatments. The worst part was when my used period products started disappearing from the trash. Because a few months later, I found them in a plastic bag in her bathroom drawer. I literally wanted to throw up right there and then. When I confronted her, she said, "You throw them away anyway. I'm just harvesting what you waste." I wanted to tell my parents, but I was scared of what they'd do. So instead, I started distancing myself. But Ashley was nonstop texting me updates about her progress. She'd send selfies of her swollen face saying things like, "The inflammation means it's working." I tried talking to her mom, but she thought I was just jealous. Nobody else saw how far Ashley had fallen into this obsession. Everything came to a head when I was babysitting my neighbor's newborn. Ashley knew I'd be there and showed up unannounced. She said she missed me and wanted to see the baby. I was lonely and caved, letting her in. While I was warming a bottle, she disappeared. I later found her in the nursery with medical supplies spread on the changing table. She had a band on the baby's tiny arm and was filling a syringe with blood. The baby was screaming, and Ashley was just calmly drawing vial after vial. Newborn blood has the highest concentration of growth factors, she explained like she was teaching a science class. Just a little from the heel like they do at hospitals. I immediately lunged for the baby, but Ashley blocked me. "Don't you see what I'm doing? This is the breakthrough I've been working towards." She already had 1.5 vials filled and was going for a third. The baby was getting pale and lethargic. Ashley kept talking about how babies produce excess blood, and she was just harvesting the surplus. She pulled out another syringe filled with cloudy liquid. "Look, I already injected some." Her face was swelling grotesquely as we stood there. One eye was almost swollen shut. I almost screamed. "Can't you see I'm already looking younger?" She actually believed it. I managed to grab the baby while she was preparing another syringe. I ran to call 911 while Ashley followed, begging me to understand. She kept saying, "The beauty industry doesn't want us to know the truth." Even as the paramedics took the baby away, she was explaining her theories to them. The baby survived but needed a transfusion. Ashley was arrested and was released 5 years later, and in her eyes, I was the one to ruin her beauty, and she was ready to make me pay. I stood frozen at my apartment mailbox, staring at the photo on my phone. Ashley's face filled the screen, swollen and distorted from what looked like fresh injections. Her left eye was completely shut, the skin around it purple and stretched tight. The text underneath made my hands shake. I never stopped my research. 5 years. She'd been locked up for 5 years, and this was the first thing she sent me. I dropped my mail and ran up the stairs to my apartment, fumbling with my keys. My boyfriend Jake was on the couch watching TV when I burst through the door. I shoved my phone in his face, my whole body trembling. He squinted at the screen, then shrugged. "Your old friend got out of prison and wants to reconnect. Maybe she's changed." The next morning at work, I couldn't focus. Every time someone walked past my cubicle, I jumped. Around lunch, I went out to my car to grab my gym bag. Ashley was standing by my driver's side door. She looked worse in person. Her face was lumpy and uneven, like someone had stuffed marbles under her skin. One eye still wouldn't open fully, giving her a permanent squint. She smiled when she saw me, revealing teeth that looked too white against her mottled skin. "I perfected my techniques inside," she explained calmly, like we were discussing the weather. "The guards let me practice on myself. I traded commissary items for supplies." I backed away slowly, but she followed, maintaining the same conversational tone. "Did you know prison blood has unique properties? All that stress and confinement changes the cellular structure." My coworkers were starting to return from lunch, filing past us into the building. Ashley waved at them cheerfully, and a few waved back, probably thinking she was just another employee. I finally found my voice and told her to leave. She tilted her head, studying me with her one good eye. "I'm not going anywhere. We have unfinished business." That night, I tried explaining everything to Jake again. He was scrolling through his phone while I talked, barely listening. "She found me at work. She's been experimenting on herself in prison. This is serious." He finally looked up, annoyed. "You're being paranoid. So she looks rough. Prison will do that. Maybe try being supportive instead of judgmental." I grabbed his phone to make him focus, and that's when I saw it, a dating app notification from someone named Ash. My stomach dropped as I opened the message thread. Ashley had been messaging him for weeks, asking about me, pretending to be interested in him. Jake snatched his phone back. "It's not what it looks like. She was just asking how you were doing. She seems genuinely concerned about your friendship." The next day, my mom called during my lunch break. The sweetest woman joined our book club, Ashley's mother. "Did you know Ashley got her GED in prison? And therapy certificates? She's really turned her life around." I tried warning her, explaining what Ashley had done to that baby, but Mom cut me off. "People deserve second chances. Her mother says you won't even return her calls." After work, I was watering my plants by the window when movement across the street caught my eye. Ashley was entering the building directly across from mine, checking a mailbox in the lobby. I could see the apartment numbers clearly from my window, 4B. My hand started shaking so badly I dropped the watering can. I found the building's recycling bin the next morning and dug through it until I found what I was looking for, a moving truck receipt dated 3 days ago. She'd been living across from me for 3 days, and I hadn't known. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and disappointment. The officer taking my report looked bored as I explained the situation. Has she threatened you? Physically assaulted you? She said we have unfinished business. She's stalking me. He leaned back in his chair. Saying you have unfinished business isn't a threat. Living across the street isn't illegal. Document everything and come back if she escalates. I left feeling more helpless than before. That night I took a long shower, trying to wash away the feeling of being watched. When I went to clean the drain afterward, it was completely clogged with hair. Way too much hair. I pulled out clump after clump, more than could have possibly come from one shower. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but I knew who it was. The photo showed my coffee cup from that morning's cafe visit. My lipstick stain was circled in red marker. No message, just the photo. Sarah, my best friend since college, met me for yoga that weekend. There's this sweet new girl in class, she mentioned while we were setting up our mats. She asked about you, actually. Said you two go way back. My blood ran cold. What did she look like? Honestly, kind of rough. Said she'd been through some medical issues, but she seemed really interested in meditation and healing. I spent the rest of class scanning the room, but Ashley wasn't there. She'd already gotten what she wanted, information about my schedule. It took me 3 days to track down the Johnsons. They'd moved 2 states away after the incident with their baby. When I finally got them on the phone, the fear in their voices was palpable. She's out? Mrs. Johnson's voice cracked. Our daughter still has nightmares. We had to move because people found out what happened. Mr. Johnson took the phone. That woman is dangerous. Whatever she wants from you, don't give it to her. We're considering changing our names. That night, I found a folded piece of paper slid under my door. It was a page ripped from a journal, covered in Ashley's handwriting. The title at the top read, Cellular Memory Extraction, Subject N. Below were detailed notes about blood types, extraction methods, and something about memory transfer through plasma. At the bottom were drawings of syringes, each labeled with my name. My phone rang. Ashley's mother. I don't understand why you're being so cruel, she said without preamble. Ashley paid her debt to society. She's trying to make amends, and you won't even speak to her. I tried explaining about the stalking, the hair, the photos, but she wouldn't listen. She told me you'd say these things. She said you were always jealous of her transformation. Jake was making dinner when I got home, acting like everything was normal. I showed him the journal page, the photos, explained about the hair in the drain. He glanced at everything briefly, then went back to chopping vegetables. Maybe you should talk to someone, he suggested. This obsession with Ashley isn't healthy. We were interrupted by a knock at the door. Jake opened it before I could stop him. Ashley stood in the hallway, holding a container of soup. I heard you weren't feeling well, she said, trying to peer around Jake into the apartment. I made your favorite, tomato basil. Jake started to take the container, but I grabbed his arm. The soup had a strange metallic smell, like pennies mixed with herbs. Ashley's good eye tracked my movement, noting my fear. It's a special recipe, she said, with extra iron. Interesting conversation happening here. I wonder what they're really thinking. After Jake finally got her to leave, we argued. He thought I was being ridiculous, refusing help from someone trying to make amends. I slept on the couch that night, double-checking the locks every hour. The next morning, I started documenting everything. Photos of every interaction, screenshots of every message, recordings of her standing outside my building. I backed everything up to 3 different cloud services. My diligence paid off when Ashley filed a harassment complaint against me. 2 officers showed up at my work, escorting me out in front of everyone. We've received a complaint that you've been photographing and following a woman named Ashley Chen. I showed them my evidence explaining the situation. They seemed skeptical until I showed them the security footage from my building of Ashley going through the garbage at 3 a.m. One officer gave me his card. Keep documenting. Build your case. Sarah agreed to meet me for coffee after I told her about the baby incident. Her face went pale as I explained what had happened 5 years ago. She seemed so normal in yoga class, a little intense about the meditation, but normal. That's what she does, I explained. She seems normal until she doesn't. 2 other friends from our yoga class overheard and joined us. They'd noticed Ashley too, always asking questions about me, always watching the door during class. We agreed to look out for each other. That night, Jake found Ashley's dating profile and the messages she'd sent him. She'd been asking about my medical history, if I'd ever donated blood, what medications I took. The questions had seemed innocent at first, but seeing them all together made a pattern. Okay, he admitted. This is weird. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. We were lying in bed when his phone buzzed. Another message from Ashley. Does she still use the same brand of tampons? The organic ones? Jake threw his phone across the room. The next few days were a blur of increasing paranoia and evidence gathering. I found medical tubing in our building's dumpster that matched supplies from a sketchy online medical supplier. The receipts had Ashley's credit card information clearly visible. She wasn't even trying to hide anymore. Mrs. Chen, my elderly neighbor, mentioned that Ashley had been helping her with groceries. Such a sweet girl. She asked if you were eating well, if you looked healthy. I warned her to be careful, but Mrs. Chen waved me off. She said you might say that, said you two had a falling out. I needed to convince Mrs. Chen about the danger, but Ashley had already planted seeds of doubt. The next morning, I caught Ashley helping Mrs. Chen carry groceries up the stairs. She wore my old college sweatshirt, the one I'd thrown out months ago. My stomach churned as I watched her mimic my mannerisms, the way I'd always steadied Mrs. Chen's elbow on the steps. Tom from my old marketing team texted me that afternoon. Ashley had shown up at their happy hour wearing a perfume that smelled exactly like the one I used to wear. She'd spent the evening asking about my current projects, my schedule, my habits. Tom thought it was strange enough to warn me, especially when Ashley let slip details about our relationship that I'd never shared with anyone at work. I started recognizing the pattern from our friendship years ago. First, she'd study someone obsessively. Then she'd infiltrate their social circles. Finally, she'd try to extract whatever she thought she needed. Back then, it was beauty secrets. Now it was something much more disturbing. My phone rang during lunch. The Johnson family's former nanny wanted to talk. She revealed that Ashley had volunteered at their daycare for 2 months before the incident with the baby. She'd asked strange questions about the infants' feeding schedules, their blood types, which ones were the healthiest. The daycare director had found notebooks where Ashley tracked each baby's development with disturbing detail. Jake refused to let Ashley into her apartment when she showed up that evening with homemade soup. She stood in the hallway for 20 minutes, insisting she just wanted to help. The soup smelled metallic, like copper pennies mixed with vegetables. Jake held firm, but I could see doubt creeping into his expression when Ashley started crying about how I'd abandoned her in her time of need. I photographed the soup container she left by our door, adding it to my growing evidence file. The label had my name written in her handwriting, surrounded by small symbols I didn't recognize. I threw it away in the dumpster 3 blocks away, not wanting it anywhere near our building. The police visited me at work the next day. Ashley had filed a harassment complaint, claiming I'd been following her and taking photos. I showed them my documentation, explaining how she'd been stalking me. They took notes but seemed more concerned about her complaint than my evidence. One officer suggested I stop photographing her to avoid further issues. Sarah gathered our yoga friends that evening. I explained about the baby, about the blood, about Ashley's obsession. Their faces went from skepticism to horror as I showed them the journal page she'd slipped under my door. 2 of them remembered Ashley asking strange questions about their health routines, their medical histories. We agreed to watch out for each other, to document any encounters. I found medical tubing in our building's trash that matched the supplies from Ashley's online orders. The receipts showed she'd been buying syringes, collection vials, and preservation equipment. She wasn't even trying to hide her activities anymore, leaving evidence in shared spaces like she wanted me to find it. Tom's ex-girlfriend reached out through social media. During their relationship, Ashley had pumped her for information about me, asking about my daily routines, my health, my relationships. She'd thought Ashley was just a concerned friend until the questions became invasive. She'd asked about my menstrual cycle, my blood type, whether I'd ever had any medical procedures. Building management finally took notice when I compiled security footage showing Ashley appearing in 47 different clips over 1 week. She was always lingering near the mailboxes when I checked mail, sitting in the lobby when I came home from work, circling the building at odd hours. The security guard admitted he'd noticed her more than actual residents. The Johnsons struggled with whether to get involved. Reliving the trauma was affecting their daughter, who still had nightmares about that night. But they agreed to provide a written statement about Ashley's behavior, about how she'd infiltrated their lives before attacking their baby. They revealed she'd kept detailed notes about their daughter's development, her feeding times, her growth patterns. Mrs. Chen knocked on my door one evening, looking troubled. She admitted Ashley had been in my apartment the previous week. She'd said she was watering my plants while I was at work, that we'd made up, and I'd given her a key. The problem was, I didn't have any plants. My hands shook as I realized Ashley had been in my space, touching my things, possibly taking samples of my hair, my skin cells. Who knew what else? During a chance encounter at the pharmacy, Ashley's face looked worse than ever. The swelling had spread to her neck, creating lumpy protrusions under her jaw. She was buying more syringes, more medical supplies. When she saw me, she smiled with her distorted face and offered to share her discoveries. She promised she'd found the secret to eternal youth, that she just needed my help to perfect it. I left without my prescriptions, too shaken to stay. Tom started questioning why Ashley knew so much about my daily routine. She let slip that I always got coffee at the same shop, that I preferred oat milk, that I sat in the 3rd booth by the window. Details he'd never shared, that she could only know from watching me. The relationship ended when she asked him to get my medical records from his doctor friend who worked at my clinic. I discovered Ashley had been collecting DNA from multiple sources at the yoga studio. She'd been taking hair from brushes in the changing room, wiping down water bottles after class, even collecting sweat from the mats. Sarah found her in the bathroom with collection vials, scraping samples from the sink. The studio banned her immediately, but the damage was done. Ashley's influence was shrinking. Beyond Tom, her mother, and 2 people from her therapy group, most people recognized something was wrong. Her appearance alone was alarming, but her behavior was what really drove people away. She'd approach strangers who looked like me, asking invasive questions about their health, their beauty routines, their blood types. The Johnson family revealed more disturbing details about Ashley's time at the daycare. She'd volunteered specifically in the infant room, always eager to help with diaper changes and feeding times. She'd kept detailed notes about each baby's development, their health, their growth patterns. 3 different workers had filed concerns about her strange questions and intense interest in the baby's medical information. Jake chose me over his friendship with Tom when the social pressure mounted. Tom couldn't understand why Jake was taking my side, why he believed my paranoid stories about Ashley, but Jake had seen the evidence, had witnessed her behavior firsthand. He moved more of his things to my apartment, wanting to be there for protection. Sarah, Jake, and surprisingly Mrs. Chen formed an informal protection network. Mrs. Chen felt terrible about letting Ashley into my apartment and wanted to make amends. She started keeping detailed notes about when she saw Ashley, what she was doing, who she was talking to. Her documentation proved invaluable later. I had a chance to plant evidence in Ashley's apartment when maintenance gave me access by mistake, thinking I was her. But I couldn't do it. Despite everything, I wouldn't stoop to her level. I needed to handle this the right way, with real evidence and proper documentation. The confrontation at the grocery store changed everything. Ashley cornered me by the produce section, blocking my escape with her cart. She contradicted her entire prison reform story, admitting she'd practiced her techniques on volunteers inside. She'd traded commissary items for access to their blood, their hair, their skin cells. She'd been perfecting her extraction methods for 5 years, waiting for her release. The daycare confirmed Ashley's volunteer records and documented her concerning behavior around the infants. She'd been obsessed with their development, asking about their feeding schedules, their sleep patterns, their medical histories. The director had terminated her volunteer position after finding her attempting to take saliva samples from pacifiers. Tom broke up with Ashley when she asked him to steal my medical records. She'd been pressuring him for weeks, claiming she needed them for reconciliation, to understand my health issues so she could help. When he refused, she'd become aggressive, accusing him of choosing me over her breakthrough research. Building residents started recognizing Ashley's lurking pattern. The security guard noted she spent more time in common areas than most residents. Other tenants complained about finding her in the laundry room at odd hours, going through the lost and found, checking mailboxes that weren't hers. The complaints piled up independently, creating a clear pattern. My support network shared resources about restraining orders, security systems, and legal options. We created a group chat to alert each other about Ashley sightings. The network grew to include building security, local shop owners, and even some of Ashley's former victims who'd come forward after hearing about my situation. The parking lot confrontation was the most direct Ashley had been. She admitted she needed my essence to complete her research. She claimed I had something special, something she'd recognized years ago. My blood, my cells, my genetic material would unlock the secret she'd been chasing. She actually believed I owed her this, that our friendship meant I should sacrifice for her discovery. 3 neighbors apologized for thinking I was paranoid. They'd witnessed Ashley's increasingly erratic behavior, her strange hours, her disturbing appearance. One had caught her trying to pick my lock at 3 a.m. Another had seen her digging through my mail. They started their own documentation, adding to the growing pile of evidence. Ashley's options narrowed as more places banned her. The yoga studio, the coffee shop, and the gym all refused her entry after complaints from other patrons. She made people uncomfortable with her swollen face, her invasive questions, her intense staring. Business owners didn't want her driving away customers. A former daycare worker revealed the extent of Ashley's obsession with infant development. She'd kept detailed charts about blood types, growth rates, developmental milestones. She'd asked which babies were breastfed versus formula-fed, claiming it affected their cellular development. The worker had found notebooks filled with disturbing theories about infant blood properties. I warned all local daycares with Ashley's photo, carefully avoiding defamation while expressing safety concerns. I focused on factual information about her past behavior, her interest in infant blood, her criminal history. Most were grateful for the warning, having already heard rumors about the woman who'd attacked a baby for blood. 12 neighbors attended an impromptu building meeting about the Ashley situation. We shared our experiences, our documentation, our concerns. The building manager agreed to increase security measures and pursue trespassing charges if she entered the property again. We established a communication system to alert each other about sightings. Ashley's attempts to befriend more neighbors failed as word spread organically. People talked in the elevator, at the mailboxes, in the local shops. Her reputation preceded her now, making it impossible to infiltrate new social circles. She was becoming isolated, desperate, more dangerous. The maintenance manager caught Ashley trying to access my apartment with a copied key. She broke down crying, claiming she'd left something precious there years ago, that she just needed to retrieve it. He didn't buy her story, especially when he found collection files in her bag. The attempted break-in was documented and reported to both building management and police. The local social media group discussed the creepy, beauty-obsessed woman without naming names. People shared sightings, strange encounters, disturbing behavior they'd witnessed. Ashley became a cautionary tale, a warning about the dangers of obsession and untreated mental illness. The post garnered hundreds of comments from people who'd encountered her. Video evidence compiled from 3 weeks of footage showed a clear stalking pattern. Ashley appeared at predictable times, following my routine with disturbing accuracy. She knew when I left for work, when I returned, when I checked mail, when I did laundry. The compilation made it impossible to deny the stalking behavior. The Johnsons struggled with reliving their trauma, but felt obligated to help prevent future victims. Their daughter still had nightmares, still feared doctors and medical procedures. They provided a detailed statement about Ashley's behavior, her infiltration of their lives, the attack on their baby. Their courage in coming forward strengthened my case significantly. Ashley's mother finally saw the security footage and realized her daughter hadn't changed. The video of Ashley attempting to break into my apartment, of her stalking behavior, of her disturbing appearance shocked her. She'd been enabling Ashley's delusions, believing her lies about reconciliation and reform. The reality hit her hard. I realized Ashley needed me because I was the only friend who'd ever truly known her. I'd seen her at her lowest, had been there for her transformation, had witnessed her descent into obsession. In her twisted mind, this made me special, made my essence more valuable. She believed our connection would unlock her research breakthrough. At the bank, I handled our surprise encounter with practiced calm. Ashley's hands shook with rage when I refused to engage, when I simply completed my transaction and left. The security guard noticed the interaction, noted her aggressive body language, her attempt to follow me. Another piece of documentation from my growing file. Tom, his ex, and 3 others refused to give Ashley any more information about me. They'd learned about her true intentions, about her obsession with my biological materials. They cut off contact, blocked her on social media, warned others in her extended social circle. Her network of information sources was drying up. Building management agreed to pursue trespassing charges based on the accumulated evidence. The security footage, witness statements, and attempted break-in provided clear grounds for action. They sent Ashley a formal notice banning her from the property, threatening legal action if she returned. Relief washed over me as Ashley seemed to retreat from direct confrontation. For several days, I didn't see her lurking around the building, didn't receive strange texts, didn't find disturbing items under my door, but the quiet felt ominous, like the calm before a storm. My instincts proved correct. Ashley made a final manipulation attempt through my sister's college roommate. Ashley went from beauty guru to basically becoming the neighborhood's most unwanted person, and her mom finally seeing the security footage must have been like watching your kid's school play and realizing they're the villain, not the hero you thought they were playing. She tracked down this distant connection, befriended her online, tried to extract information about my family, but I'd warned my sister, who'd warned her roommate. The attempt failed when the roommate recognized Ashley from photos I'd shared. The failed manipulation marked a turning point. Ashley was running out of options, out of allies, out of ways to get close to me. Her desperation was growing, making her sloppy, more obvious in her stalking. She'd spent so long planning her revenge that she hadn't prepared for this level of resistance. My evidence file had grown to over 50 documented incidents. Photos, videos, witness statements, police reports, medical records from the Johnson baby's treatment. The pattern was undeniable, the escalation clear. Any reasonable person could see the danger Ashley posed, the obsession driving her behavior. Ashley's apartment lease was terminated for multiple violations. Other tenants had complained independently about strange smells, suspicious visitors at odd hours, medical waste in common areas. She had 30 days to vacate, another blow to her plans. Her proximity to me had been crucial to her stalking strategy. My relationship with Jake grew stronger through the ordeal. He'd seen me at my most vulnerable, had chosen to believe and support me when others doubted. We developed better communication, stronger boundaries, deeper trust. The crisis had tested us, but ultimately brought us closer together. Former daycare employees agreed to testify about Ashley's concerning behavior if needed. 3 separate workers had filed concerns about her strange questions, her intense interest in the infants, her attempts to collect biological samples. Their willingness to come forward added credibility to my claims about her dangerous obsession. I presented a comprehensive timeline to a lawyer, showing Ashley's escalating behavior from prison release to present. The pattern was undeniable, the progression from subtle manipulation to attempted break-ins clear. The lawyer agreed I had grounds for a restraining order and potentially criminal charges. The breakthrough came when prison medical records showed Ashley had been disciplined for possessing syringes and other medical equipment. She'd claimed they were for art projects, but guards found evidence of self-experimentation. She'd been caught multiple times with contraband medical supplies, trading commissary items for access to restricted materials. Prison records revealed Ashley had bartered extensively, offering makeovers and beauty consultations to guards in exchange for overlooking contraband in her cell. She'd built a network of enablers inside, people who thought they were helping a harmless beauty enthusiast. The records showed a pattern of manipulation and deception throughout her incarceration. Documentation from prison showed Ashley had been disciplined twice for possessing medical equipment beyond the syringes. Guards had found collection vials, preservation solutions, even a small centrifuge she'd somehow smuggled in. Each time she'd claimed innocence, insisted she was just trying to better herself through beauty treatments. My final evidence package contained over 50 incidents, each documented with photos, videos, or witness statements. The timeline showed clear escalation, from social media contact to physical stalking to attempted break-ins. The pattern of behavior was consistent with her past crimes, but showed dangerous evolution in her methods. Prison records showed Ashley bartered commissary items and offered makeovers to guards to overlook contraband in her cell. The documentation revealed she'd been caught with centrifuges, preservation chemicals, and extraction equipment multiple times. Each incident resulted in disciplinary action, but she'd always found new ways to acquire supplies. My evidence package grew thicker as I added the prison records. The lawyer reviewed everything methodically, nodding as the pattern became undeniable. 57 documented incidents, each building on the last, showing clear escalation from social media contact to attempted break-ins. The support network expanded to 23 people ready to provide statements. Former daycare workers, neighbors, building security, even some guards from the prison who'd witnessed her obsessive behavior. Their collective testimony painted a disturbing picture of someone whose mental state had deteriorated significantly. I came home from work to find my apartment door slightly ajar. The security camera footage later showed Ashley had spent 40 minutes inside, methodically going through my belongings. She'd harvested hair from my brushes, collected samples from my bathroom, even scraped skin cells from my pillowcase. The violation made my skin crawl. My diary lay open on the kitchen counter, pages bent where she'd pressed too hard while reading. Family photos had been moved, some missing entirely. She'd touched everything, contaminated my safe space with her presence. I spent hours documenting what had been disturbed, what might have been taken. Jake wanted to pack up and leave town immediately. Sarah suggested I was overreacting to what she called a minor break-in, not understanding the full context. The divide in my support network became apparent as Ashley played victim to the responding officers, claiming she'd left personal items in my apartment years ago and just needed to retrieve them. The police questioned me for 2 hours, while Ashley sat in the hallway, producing a fake receipt for items she claimed were stored in my closet. Her performance was convincing enough that one officer suggested this might be a civil matter. I had to handle their skepticism alone while Jake paced outside, torn between supporting me and his growing desire to flee. I decided to turn Ashley's obsession against her. That evening, I posted on social media about scheduling a minor medical procedure, deliberately vague but mentioning I'd be at a specific clinic. The post was public, knowing she monitored my accounts obsessively. Within minutes, I had 3 concerned messages from friends, but I knew Ashley had seen it too. The trap worked perfectly. Ashley appeared at the clinic the next morning, carrying a medical bag filled with extraction equipment. Security cameras captured her pacing the parking lot, checking her supplies, clearly planning to intercept me. She'd taken the bait completely, her desperation overriding any caution. The medical building became a convergence point as I arrived with Jake, 2 security guards, and Mrs. Chen, who'd insisted on coming as a witness. Ashley's face contorted when she realized she'd been caught, but she didn't run. Instead, she approached me directly, her extraction kit visible in her bag. She launched into a frantic explanation about how I owed her for ruining her research that would have helped millions. Her words tumbled out rapidly as she described her vision of ending aging, curing diseases, revolutionizing beauty. In her mind, my interference with the baby incident had set back humanity's progress by decades. Ashley pulled up her sleeve, revealing arms covered in injection sites, some fresh and swollen. She'd been injecting herself with DNA samples from dozens of people, creating what she called a cellular cocktail. Her body was rejecting most of it, causing the grotesque swelling, but she insisted she was close to a breakthrough. Mrs. Chen surprised everyone by producing a tablet with meticulously organized security footage she'd been compiling for weeks. She documented Ashley's movements, her break-in attempts, her stalking patterns. The elderly woman had become an unexpected detective, driven by guilt over letting Ashley into my apartment. I faced a choice as security held Ashley back. I could let her leave town with a warning, hoping she'd disappear forever, or press charges and see this through the legal system. The decision felt heavier knowing Ashley's deteriorating health was visible to everyone. Her face had swollen to the point where both eyes were nearly shut. I chose to press charges, thinking of future victims who might not be as prepared or supported as I'd been. Ashley's screams echoed through the parking lot as police arrived, her rants about cellular regeneration and beauty secrets growing more incoherent. She clutched her extraction kit even as officers restrained her. The arrest charges included breaking and entering, stalking, attempted assault, and possession of medical equipment without a license. Ashley's final manipulation attempt came as paramedics examined her. She claimed I'd poisoned her, that her symptoms were from something I'd done, not her self-experimentation. Blood work at the hospital destroyed her claims immediately. The test showed multiple foreign DNA markers, injection site infections, and severe allergic reactions to her cellular cocktails. Her body was attacking itself, rejecting the foreign genetic material she'd been injecting for months. Tom came forward with screenshots of Ashley's request for my medical information, adding to the evidence. His ex-girlfriend provided her own statement about Ashley's invasive questions. 4 other people who'd briefly dated Ashley revealed similar patterns of her using relationships to gather information about me. The judge reviewed the mountain of evidence during the arraignment. Security footage, witness statements, medical records, prison documentation, and physical evidence from the break-in created an overwhelming case. Ashley's own appearance, severely disfigured from her experiments, undermined any attempt to appear sympathetic. The maximum restraining order was granted immediately, extending to all my family members and close friends. Ashley faced multiple felony charges with the possibility of significant prison time. Her face, permanently damaged from years of injections and reactions, served as evidence of her dangerous obsession. Ashley's mother approached me outside the courthouse, tears streaming down her face. She apologized for enabling her daughter, for not believing my warnings, for contributing to the situation through her denial. She'd been visiting Ashley in jail and finally understood the depth of her daughter's delusions. The Johnsons sent a letter thanking me for preventing future victims. Other parents from the daycare where Ashley had volunteered expressed similar relief. 3 families admitted they'd noticed strange behavior, but hadn't known how to address it until hearing about my case. I started therapy to process the trauma, working through hypervigilance and trust issues. The therapist specialized in stalking victims and helped me develop coping strategies. I rebuilt my daily routine slowly, still checking locks twice but no longer obsessively. News arrived 6 weeks later through my lawyer. Ashley had accepted a plea deal that included mandatory psychiatric treatment and a permanent no-contact order. She'd be transferred to a secure psychiatric facility rather than prison, finally getting the help she needed for years. 2 years have passed since that day at the medical building. Jake and I relocated to a new city, where I've built a career in victim advocacy, specifically helping stalking victims navigate the legal system. My experience became a resource for others facing similar situations. Ashley remains in psychiatric treatment, her physical health slowly improving as doctors address the damage from her self-experimentation. I receive updates through legal channels but have no direct contact. The restraint order remains permanent. I occasionally glance over my shoulder, a habit that may never fully fade, but the constant fear has been replaced by reasonable caution. The support network that formed during those terrifying months remains strong, several of us becoming close friends beyond the crisis that brought us together. My life isn't defined by what Ashley did anymore. I've built something new, surrounded by people who believed me when it mattered most. The scars remain, but they've become part of a larger story of survival and community. Well, that's a nice way to wrap things up after all that wild drama with Ashley trying to frame her best friend for murder. I love how the main character found real friends through this mess. Kind of like when you accidentally join a club because you walked into the wrong room but then realized these are actually your people. Thanks for reading this crazy story with me about fake friends and real ones. I hope you have a wonderful day full of friends who won't try to pin crimes on you.